Aldo Raine's knife, is it legit? Let's break it down. In Inglourious Basterds, Aldo Raine's knife looks to be a modified Smith & Wesson Bowie knife with a stag handle. Let's start with the pros. Pro number one is this unique forward and reverse design of the handguard. Because the quillion, that's where my fingers are swept backwards, if a weapon comes down, it's simply going to glide off to safety. However, if a weapon slides down the back, it's actually going to get caught, which is a good thing for me because then I can deflect it and then launch my own attack. And as a follow-up pro to the last pro is the handguard's actually made of brass. And the reason why you want a brass handguard is because brass is a naturally antimicrobial metal, which means that if you're cutting into something and you get blood on the handle, as it passes through the brass, it will have a slightly less bacterial load as the blood reaches your hand. And I'll tell you the main pro I found as I was playing around with this is the stag handle. As I launch it forward, I can catch it at the end, giving myself an extra inch or 2 inches that my opponent might not realize I have. So my opponent might think, oh, that's the maximum length I've got. But in reality, that's the maximum length I have. And the final pro of the stag handle is I can see myself causing a good amount of damage with the puño part. And the most obvious pro is this wide belly, which means it's really good for slicing, hacking, or, if you've seen the movie, scalping. And now for the cons. There are a few of them. Number one is there seems to be no other weight reduction besides this choil. He really could have used a fuller of some sort to reduce some of the blade weight. And this is definitely very front weighted, which means it definitely feels slower in my hand. So it feels more like a tool than it does a weapon. And another con is the stag handle. I know we said it was a pro, but it's a pro only in a hammer or a saber grip. But in a reverse grip or an ice pick grip, it definitely feels a little bit unwieldy. Why? Because my hand is wider on the top and narrower on the bottom, so it doesn't feel quite as natural. You really always want your thumb and index finger to touch when you're holding a weapon or a tool. Here, you can see I can't really do that. Why? Because of the thickness of the base of the stag handle. It really is meant to be used mainly in a hammer or a saber grip. As for a final thought on this knife, it honestly fits the character Aldo Raine's very well because this is a classic American knife for a classic American fighter.